Hey everyone, it's your boy Matthew East here. It is 23rd of July 2025. And this is not Taco Admin. This is just a rant regarding a problem which I'm facing at the moment. Maybe we can call this a personal update. I don't know. So we need to talk about uh, manipulation and manipulative people in healthcare. Why that's a bad thing and how frequently they pop up. So let's talk first of all about non-government organizations. So non-government organizations are the larger charities that we see. So the biggest one in Canberra is Marymead Catholic Care. It's a combination of all the Christian ones. They all clumped together. They did that so that they could exert power over the government because they ended up providing more services than the actual government departments who were set up to do the job did. And in a lot of ways, they do it better. I'm going to let you know they do it better. NGOs, they just because it's not a government thing doesn't mean they can't become incredibly competent. Marymead Catholic Care as a whole, very incompetent overall organization, but individual like departments within it, you will find like, holy shit, this is a treasure trove of amazingly well-led people who are working together to achieve fantastic outcomes. There are a whole lot of incredibly talented people working for Marymead Catholic Care. But it exists in what we can call the non-government organization ecosystem. Okay, right? So remember, this is the jungle. People are hunting for funding. Marymead Catholic Care exists because of funding. That's why it exists. It exists because if you have all of them together, they can make sure that they're able to get the best deals possible. Another part of that was actually very psychological because I was a part of the organization as it created this big reform. The people at the top just wanted to feel important and powerful. That was the main reason why it became that. But there are a lot of incredibly talented people there. I don't. So with NGOs, when you have a position within a non-government organization, you need to understand it's incredibly political. People in NGOs, when they're at the senior CEO level, they get paid at least $1 million, hopefully, to be the CEO of that organization. The reason why is because their job is to pull all of these different political forces together to get a bureaucracy to work, to get all these people to work together without being coerced. And they are coerced. There is coercion involved. There's coercion involved in any hierarchical system. But there is coercion involved in non-government organizations. So we're going to talk about, before I describe what manipulative conduct looks like in an NGO, I'm going to start describing an example that my uncle gave me, describing his experience when he was training to be a social worker. He has this very weird credentialed field. It's like community development or some shit. Like, dude, he grew up he was a baby boomer. Back then, like, this is what we need to remember. Disciplines come and disciplines go. He was a community development expert, whatever the fuck that is, right? That discipline came and went, right? Maybe there's a couple of people around who are still, like, holding up that flag and waving it about, but, like, disciplines come, disciplines go. And back in the day, back in the boomer days, back when we were just worried about Vietnam and that shit, right? And not just Vietnam, because Vietnam was a terrible thing, and he came after that. We had this issue where we had these guys going overseas, and they were like going into communities and like, hey, we need to make something happen in this overseas community so that they've got development, so that they've got like a community and they can work towards the goals and some shit. And it was this really weird hippie vibe to it. They didn't really understand how to grow economies yet. They didn't understand how to build communities in a sustainable way by developing the correct infrastructure and creating the correct jobs. Right? That's what you need to do. You need to create an economy so things could work. But they were like really hippies. They were like, we just need to work together. We need to come together, right? Together as a team. And after we do that, everything's going to be fine. And that's a good place to start. That's where you start. Like the work that we're doing now is built off these guys who were like these weird guys in the 1970s, 1980s. Okay? But he gave this example to me of when a time that he stood up to the bullshit was going on. Right? He told me this time where there was this person who came down and was like, hey, look, we were having a community gathering and we needed to adjust things so that the community could all to get together and vote on this thing which I wanted them to pass. So what I did is that I made sure everyone had a big meal of beans, big beans, so many beans, so they became so gassy. They would gas everything up, and they wouldn't be able to sit down and stay for the whole thing and vote because I need them to vote at the end of it, right? And so this person deliberately got all these people gassy to manipulate a vote so they could get their agenda across. Now, in that situation, my uncle Tommy raised his hand and is like, hey, didn't you just manipulate that community so you could get your political agenda across? And everyone in the room became silent when he said that. Apparently, this is a family story. It's stuck in our family for generations. And what he realized is that in this community development era, community, he was isolated. He became isolated because he wasn't on board with people manipulating people like this. He didn't get the idea that this is an ideological movement, not a practical movement where we're developing skills to fix problems. We're here to fulfill an agenda which we often don't really understand. That's what I'm often finding with NGOs in particular. A lot of these guys are just fuckwits. There's no need to be polite about it. They just don't keep track of their ideas and their ideals. And they end up doing something because it makes them feel good because they think that they're doing something useful. NGOs in general, we need to reduce human suffering. We need people on the front line doing it. A lot of the people who end up in these organizations are dickheads, and they stay there because the organization rewards adherence to dickheadery, such as manipulating a group of people by making them gassy so you can get a vote through so you can manipulate an outcome. That goes across so many ethical first principles that we have in healthcare. But of course, these people are playing at a lower level. And I want to talk about a woman called I may have pronounced that incorrectly. She's an occupational therapist who's involved in non-government organizations in Canberra. And what she did when I worked at Marymead Catholic Care is that I made a writing concern that I was being bullied. And she put a piece of paper on my stack and she tried to gaslight me that I wasn't being bullied. I had a woman stalking me. I had a guy who has made malicious notes to AHPRA about me. I was fucking bullied. I was horrifically abused, actually, at Catholic Care. I was the only male psych there who wasn't gay. There's a senior psychologist there called Peter Henry, who's a friend of mine, he's from a different generation. I wish him and I got along better because there's so few of us who have been at the pointy end, and him and I have both been at the pointy end of psychology. But this woman did that. She ended up working at the University of Canberra teaching OT. We've got these heinous people involved in NGOs in Canberra, and we can't get rid of them because to be part of the NGO world, you're balancing these political things and you're keeping your friends, and you can't break away from your friends because they're the people who are keeping you there and keeping you safe. I know this because I broke away and I've had everyone chase after me because I've called people out and I've described what's horrific and what's going on. I've martyred myself for the NGO community and the overall healthcare community in Australia and Canberra. And I say this because I'm dealing with a lot of problems at the moment. I'm in a situation where people want to subdue me, and I've been gaslit by OTs before. I've been gaslit by OTs twice. As a discipline, if you want to, I talk about people. I have a thing with OTs. Okay, I think we need a shit ton more of them, but I need to make it very clear the idea of what's called an OT, which is an occupational therapist, so a person by whose occupation they do therapy, is that we end up with a lot of dickheads who just walk around being like, okay, hey, right, I went to university. I've got this qualification with APRA. I, I, by occupation, I am a therapist, therefore I have authority, but I don't really fucking know anything. And most OTs I meet in the NDIS around not all of them. Most I'd say that there's such a demand on OTs that if we were to restructure everything and rebuild healthcare from the bottom up, we would start everyone as an OT and then they fuck off from there. But um, we got these people who are just given authority who don't know shit about their shit and was organizing psychology departments. And she doesn't know shit about psychology. Like, no one in their right mind would have done what she did and tried to gaslight me the way she did. But I keep finding this with these OTs and these community development fuckers. They like, if we put people in brackets, like, and this is where I'm getting really insulting with intelligence. OT isn't the highest. OT is not the highest in the healthcare sphere. We have this, like, I'm not trying to bring the pecking order because there is an internalized and not described pecking order. Most of it's bullshit. I think we should all, like, if we were able to find a way where everyone started as OTs and just became specialists in different things, that'd be fantastic. But I end up with these fucking OTs who know so little about the fucking field that I'm dealing with, coming in, acting like they're experts in it, that it's driving my fucking head in. Okay? And I say this in the person who's working in the NDIS where, like, oh my God, I'm screaming for an OT on the team. I need an OT on the team. I'm constantly forced into these situations where I'm having to do what the OT is meant to be doing. Because OTs, they're meant to be these people who build what's called functional capacity. That's where the NDIS come from. The NDIS is built on OTs, right? Like, you notice, like, I love OT. I'm shit talking it. I've been forced to shit talk about it because it is causing me all these fucking problems because I'm running into these OTs who are acting as if they are the expert on therapy rather than a person who is like, I need a person who's able to increase capacity in this person. Okay? And in the NDIS, OTs rule, and they should rule in the in the NDIS. But they have no fucking idea about psychology, right? They don't understand mental illness at all. And when I run into them, I'm like looking at like I'm as a person who understands psychological, like, trauma, psychological impairments, the Diagnostics and Statistic Manual, to a degree where it's like I'm competent enough to know when I'm not right, where I need to consult someone, right? And a lot of these OTs, they're not at that level. Like, my sister isn't, and she's running shit in Canberra, right? I look at it and I'm like, oh God, oh my fucking God, we've given a license for this person to do everything and they don't understand my discipline and they're making a fucking mess of it. And so I wanted to make this today. I wanted to make this video today to call out that really we need to be careful with how much authority we give to the generalist. And the OT, like the positive behavior support, which is kind of my emerging field, or a field that I've been a part of, like it's at the moment it's a shambles, it's a mess, it's a complete fucking mess, right? Um, but like it's something which needs to become something which is useful and good. We need to get psychologists and PBS people into the NDIS and into overall healthcare, because these OTs, like there are some brilliant fucking OTs. I like when I thought back in time, I think maybe the best way forward is for everyone to train as OT and then specialize as psych or something. Maybe that's the way. But I'm dealing with these dickheads, these people who are dickheads, who think they are experts on everything, who are giving direction to people about areas where they have no expertise, and manipulating outcomes, violating first principles of ethics very frequently and doing it very confidently. And the previous manager of the Next Steps team at Marymead Catholic Care is absolutely one of those people. And through the wider healthcare community, we need to start making sure that we have we need to make sure that we need to get people in the first point into the professions and where they need it. Okay, so that's the first thing. We need quantity, and then we can start working towards the right quality. But in NGOs, we need to remember it's political, so we need to also work towards getting people with the right expertise in their specific disciplines in the positions of authority, and we need to begin appreciating individuals in healthcare, like based on their expertise and position, who have not credentials, who have the skills in what they are fucking doing, making the calls. The idea that an OT is able to make the calls in psychology is fucking bullshit. Like, I've seen it. My sister's fucking useless at it. She didn't realize that our family's autistic. She never knew. She's been an OT for like 37, 38 years, and she's still fucking useless with mental health. He was like fucking created a terrible effect, like did what any really stable psychologist would consider a horrific thing by trying to gaslight me. Like, she did that, right? And we've got this problem. The problem is political. The problem is, and the way to resolve it is is that we need to be able to create a hierarchy where people are able to look at someone and be like, hey, I can kind of trust that, but it's also done in a scalable way, because we don't train enough healthcare professionals, and we don't train them in a way where we can reliably see them as having authority in a situation. And it's not because of the university degrees. It's not because of the degrees. The degrees are the least useful thing. It's the industry. We've organized the industry terribly. We need to reorganize the industry, right? So that we have the people who have the correct capabilities, having the correct authority, and then we can tell the people who are educating our industry what we need them to produce. That's the problem that we're facing. Anyway, that's my rant. I think it's a good one. I've pissed some people off, but that's the sign of a good rant, and it's all fucking true. Have a good one, everyone. See you later, Canberra.